Okay, please welcome Mr. Ferold Rutch Regencia.
Good afternoon, my dear teachers. I hope you can hear me. Please give me a signal that you can actually hear me so I would know while I start sharing my screen. Okay. And so before I begin, yes, good afternoon, Divine Alvaro. Okay. So I would also like to greet the person from the teacher from Holy Angel University. Moseno was my former student. Once you get back to your school, greet him for me. Okay, so yes, Mr. Antoy is my best friend, and thank you for inviting me today in this very important afternoon. And let me share with you my screen, and the topic for this afternoon is raising a generation of pro-life youth who will stand up for life. I must admit that I became a pro-life advocate because of Mr. Antoy himself. No? So he was the one who actually bought this, and years ago, that was years ago, I was still teaching in Southreach at that time. I became very much interested, and in the process, I am now an advocate of pro-life. And, but before we begin with my talk this afternoon, I just would like to share with you that before this, I asked my grade 11 students. I was an advisor of grade 11 school year, and they have actually, they are now moving up to grade 12. And unfortunately, many of them did not get to answer my question because they are already on vacation. Mahirap naman galawin, no? Pagka bakasyon na yung mga bata. But anyway, my question to them was this, no? What does it entail or mean to be pro-life? And here are some of their responses, which I'd like to share with you. No? So, someone who protects the lives of newborn, someone who is not for abortion. If you are for life, then you are pro-life. You fight for your life and others, especially those who are stressed to choose life or death. A person who is against abortion respects life from beginning, meaning from the moment of conception up to the time of death. Being anti-abortion, and someone who defends life and someone who defends the lives of others. So very interesting to note, no, that these grade 11 students more or less have that idea. You are pro-life, you are against abortion. But then I'd like to reiterate what Mr. Antonio, that when you are pro-life, you are not just against abortion, but you have to love life. You have to also defend life and stand up for life. Because if we are just going to focus on abortion, then what about the elderly? What about us? What about our students? We also have to learn to defend the lives of the students, become pro-life in that aspect. But then, of course, the focus is more on abortion because that has always been the issue. No? Nasa 21st century tayo, and abortion pa rin ang issue natin. Well, that will never cease, I guess, no? Because of our nature, because of original sin also, as I suppose we all consider. And based on the answers of my students, you notice that, yeah, some of them actually answered abortion because of the importance, I guess. And let me now share with you that this question, that what is the cost of abortion? Now, let me now share with you my second slide. No? How much does an abortion cost? One human life. Okay, yes, that is true. No? An abortion costs one human life. Unfortunately, it's not just one person actually going through abortion. That's our problem. Because even if it's just one person, but many support it, and those who support it also go through abortion, it's not just one life that actually is a cost of abortion. In fact, if you look at, let me now show you the data of the World Health Organization from 2020, you will see that there are around 73 million induced abortions that take place in 2020 alone. And that's a big number, and that's no joke, okay? And that's why Mr. Antoy pointed out kanina na maybe we are interested in knowing what has happened to Roe versus Wade. I don't know if you're familiar with the Roe versus Wade case, which is a milestone case in 1973 in the US, wherein the justice system actually declared that it is the constitutional right of a woman, okay, to have an abortion. Okay, that was in 1973, but fast forward to 2022. We are happy to say that that has been overruled or overturned. I don't know what the term is. I think the term is overturned. Okay, that means that it is no longer a constitutional right of a woman. Okay, because remember at that time when you say it's a constitutional right of a woman, there is unrestricted abortion. Okay, for me, it's strange. Kasi look at this picture. Okay, I hope you're all looking at the left. Oh, my apologies. By the way, I only noticed it now about that woman with the armpit. Sorry. Ngayon ko lang napansin. No, that was not intentional. I should have had covered. Kawawa naman siya. But anyway, look at that top left picture. No, keep abortion legal. Okay, and then it says how long must women wait for liberty? So these are the pro-choice. They are pro-abortion. Okay, they are pro-abortion. If you look at the right side picture, no, I am the pro-life generation. You know, I vote for pro-life. In fact, someone says I am a humane person. No, she even mentioned that she's humane, no, because she's a person and she's humane. And the ones who support, of course, the pro-life, no, that they are anti-abortion. Now, on the lower left, you will actually this who voted for, in favor, who opposed, and that person and the person, the justice who favors upholding the Mississippi restriction on abortion, but doesn't favor the overturning of the Roe versus Wade case. Okay, so that means nanalo ang overturning, no, of the Roe versus Wade. So that means restricted abortion. Yun ang kinainisan nila. Okay? Ako, I hope you don't mind me. Inis ako. No? Pasensya na if I am very much emotional with regard to this. Naiinis ako kasi itong mga nasa upper left, no, they fight to make abortion legal, pero sila buhay. Sila buhay. Okay, and yet they don't want to give the babies an opportunity to live. Parang napaka-unfair, di ba? I don't know if you're gonna ask me, that's how I see it. Parang you want abortion, pero you are living your life. Okay, why don't you want the babies to have an opportunity to live? My apologies if I'm kind of emotional with regard to that. And unfortunately, we have won the battle. I hope all of us are pro-life here. We might have won the battle, pero hindi pa tapos. You know why? Even if na-overturn yung Roe versus Wade, actually they still allow. Okay? It will now all depend on the different states. It depends on the person or the legislative that they have in that state if they still would allow abortion. Okay, that is why, sabi nga nila, in an article that I read, kapag gusto mo magpa-abort ng baby, you have to look for a state that allows it. So, ibig sabihin, meron pa rin. So, hindi pa tapos ang victory natin. No? Hindi pa siya 100%. Nanalo man tayo sa overturning, pero they still allow it. Pero, as what I mentioned kanina, is still a victory. Even if it's a small step, panalo pa rin tayo. And you just have to continue praying. You just have to continue praying because that's the best thing that we can do, right? Be an advocate of pro-life. That's why we are here right now listening to this talk, because we want to make sure that we ourselves will have to go through and continue with our battle. So allow me now to continue. So let me now share with you this particular quote. No? And I want us to I want us to remember this, very important. No, life is a gift from God. Our teaching calls for respect for every human life in every situation, but especially for the most vulnerable. But who can be more vulnerable than a preborn child? I think all of us know about this already, no? That life is a gift from God. But then we all have to remember that if it is a gift given to us, we have to do something about it. Hindi naman siya pwedeng kahit ayaw natin, tatapon na lang natin. Sometimes even nire-recycle natin yung gift. Pag binigay natin, ayaw na sa ibang tao para sila yung makinabang doon sa gift. In other words, kailangan merong makinabang. Now, sir, is it true also with the babies? So that means if I don't want the baby, I can actually give it to another person. I will share with you a story with regard to that. In fact, it's actually from a movie, which is very interesting. I'll share with you something about that later on. But what is important here is that respect begets respect. I think we have to realize that human life is very precious because we are talking about the soul of an individual. One being has a soul, so therefore, we have to take care of the soul. Now, as I mentioned to you, life tayo, puro tayo sa babies na katuon. Of course, it's very The babies are very vulnerable, pero we also have to think of the lives of other people, including our students. If you are a teacher, you have to look into the lives of our students. Kasi if I ask you this question, do you actually love your students in the sense students that you have to take care of them in the classroom? Or ayaw niyong pumasok kasi meron isang estudyante na galit ka kasi walang modo, bastos, and so forth and so on. Because if the case is you have a student like that, you have to learn to love that person and you have to learn to respect that person. Then alam mo anong pinagdadaanan ng tao. In fact, if we are really pro-life, look into the life of the person and find out bakit siya ganun. Have we ever tried to study the behavior of our students inside the classroom? My apologies if I mentioned about the behavior because I took up behavioral science when I was in college and sabi nga ng ibang pare na actually hindi naman daw pero you can predict the kind of behavior of a person. Like for example, how many of us have actually looked into the temperament of our students inside the classroom? Napag-alaman ba natin ang temperament ng mga bata natin? Bakit siya makulit? Bakit siya magtahimik? Bakit siya parang walang pakialam sa mundo? Because if we get to know the temperament of our students, we get to be more concerned with the lives of our students. I mean, we become pro-life. Okay? So hindi porket estudyante natin na grade 5, grade 6, or even high school, wala tayong pakialam. And sabihin natin, no, we're just after the babies. Kasi kailangan mabuhay ang mga babies. Paano naman yung mga malalaki na, yung mga high school na, senior high school na? We don't care about them anymore. No, we have to care for them. That is why, let me share with you a story. I hope you don't mind if I share a story. When I was teaching in Southridge, meron kaming teacher na napaka-strict. No? He was a music teacher. And you know what? He literally throws his students to other classrooms. As in, literally throws his students to other classrooms. One time I was teaching, na all of a sudden, biglang tumilapon yung isang estudyante. High school na siya, no? Tumilapon sa loob ng classroom ko. I was teaching grade 5, grade 6 at the time, combined, because we have that kind of system before in Southridge, wherein you combine the slow, the average, and the fast. I forgot the term when you say fast. Okay, but in any case, I was teaching the fast track students. And biglang binato yung estudyante sa loob ng classroom ko. And then the teacher goes, Mr. Aisha, do not let this student out of your classroom until the end of the period. I say, okay, fine. Then when I asked the boy, what did you do? And then he goes, sir, I don't know. I didn't do anything. But that's the usual of our students, di ba? Pagka pinapagalitan, what did I do? What have I done? Ganun lagi. So I said, maybe you have done something. Sir, ganito. This is what happened. So we started praying. After our prayer, we said good morning to each other. And then, sabi niya, Juan de la Cruz, no? I just used that fake name, fictitious name. Step out of my classroom. Sir, why? What have I done? I haven't done anything. And then he goes, exactly. This is the funny part. Because the teacher says, exactly. Wala ka pang ginagawa, pero alam ko may gagawin ka. Kaya out of the classroom. Since ayaw niyang lumabas, dinala niya, hinatak niya, tinapon siya sa loob ng classroom ko. I mean, well, that was the 1990s. So I was asking myself, pwede ba yun? No? So if you love life, if you support life, if you are pro-life, you don't do that to your students. No, you don't throw your students to the other classroom because you do something later on. So if we are pro-life, we have to look into these aspects also. Hindi lang tayo dapat sa babies, unborn babies, but we also have to look into the lives of our students. I suppose, I am not sure, but I think all of us are teachers here in this session. And hope that this will teach us something about pro-life. Okay, because once we get to be pro-life, we could also teach our students to become pro-life themselves. Okay, allow me to continue. Okay, let me now share this with you. I'm not sure if you are familiar with the play musical, no? The musical. In fact, this was turned into a movie entitled I love this movie. Okay, if you haven't seen it, please. Of course, there's just a portion at the start of the movie na medyo hindi maganda, no? So, but just the same as we're all adults here, you can. Why do I love this movie? Because it's basically pro-life, no? You have the love, the friendship, love for an orphan, love for the country, no? You have patriotism, the love of brotherly love. Love for boyfriend, girlfriend, love for a father. So very interesting, very nice movie. And what struck me is this actually part of a song. To love another person is to see the face of God. No, that's how it sounded, because that's very true. That's very true. Even the babies, if we love that baby, we actually see the face of God. If we love our students, we see the face of God in among our students. If we love our co-teachers, no, we see the face of God. We love our family, we see the face of God. That's why it's very important that we keep this in mind. Because if you want to be pro-life, you have to realize that you have to always see the face of God in another person. Okay, so when you look to your left, when you look to your right, when you look in front, you look at the back, you have to see these people around you. Okay, you have to see the face of God amongst these people in order for us to realize that, hey, I love life, I am pro-life because, all of us have Christ in us. We see God in each and every one of us. So that's something that I want you to more or less keep in mind. No? To love another person is to see the face of God. Now, let me now look into this statement. So the statement tells us that, okay, let me just, okay, my screen is covering. Okay, I have to move it. Okay, human life must be respected and protected absolutely from the moment of conception. From the first moment of his existence, a human being must be recognized as having the rights of a person. Take note of that. Now, a human being must be recognized as having the rights of a person from the moment of his existence, among which is the inviolable right of every innocent being to life. Very interesting, because if you recall, one of the answers of my students was actually this. No, so pro-life is the life from the moment of your existence, no, until you die. So for him, that is being pro-life. So let us keep in mind, life is basically this, and this is coming from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, or the CCC, okay, that we already recognize the rights of a person from the moment of his existence. Okay, so very important for us to remember, from the moment of his existence. Now, some people would argue, some people would say, na, the moment of your existence is when you are born. Okay, do you agree or disagree? Because I disagree. Because when you say the moment of your existence is actually the moment of your conception, the moment of your conception, you already have that right. Okay, the right of a person. Okay, that's very interesting. But many people, but just the same, you have to also learn to defend the Catholic Church. Because when we speak of the right of a person, the right doesn't determine the size of the person. No, we value the person not depending on the size, whether he's that small of a baby, okay, which is just the size of the palm of the hand of the person, or maybe you are as tall as those volleyball players who played in the VNL recently. I don't know if you were a fan of the VNL, no? Because it became a word of mouth that a lot of people, no, rooted for Japan that came here, but their opponents are very tall, but they are winning against their opponents. So it doesn't mean that you value life, no? Value of life or your right based on the size, no? So yung mga Slovenian are 6-footer, and the Germans, the French, they're very tall, but it doesn't matter. No, regardless of whether you're as tall as the Filipinos or the Japanese, the value of our life is not determined by the size. Okay, that is why we have to be pro-life, not determining the size of the person, but the value of the life of the person. Okay, that is what we have to remember. We have to see the value of the person in order that we actually value the life. Okay, so very important to remember. So I hope, again, no, we learn from this. We value the life, not determining the size, but it's the life that we actually value, not the size. Okay, let me now show you this this slide. This is very interesting because, again, no, I'd like to go back to the statement that I made a while ago when I mentioned about the right of the person, no, begins the moment of his conception. Okay, so please keep that in mind. So no matter how small, okay, that living cell is, it's already considered. Okay. In fact, my dear teachers, this has always been my argument. Kasi maraming mga tao na nagsasabi na hindi pa nang buhay yan eh. Hindi pa yan tao. It's just a blob. No, blob. Ganyan lang kalaki na blob. In fact, some of them will say, it's just a blob. And you know what a blob is, no? Yung parang dugo lang. And I always tell myself, wait, if you consider it a blob, is it living? Hindi sila makasagot. Kasi that's always been my contention na kung meron sa inyo about whether this small blob that they are calling is actually a person, you can always ask them that question. Taka muna, is it a living cell? That's always been my contention. Is it a living cell? If you tell me if it's a living cell, then it can grow. If it can, then it is living, then therefore it has its potential. Now, sorry if I'm using a bit of philosophical thoughts here. Therefore, it has a potential to grow, yes, and therefore, when it grows, what is its potentiality to actuality? The actuality is a person. But then its potential to become a person, yes, but it is already a person. Because it's living and it's growing. Now, kung papatayin nyo yan, bakit? Kasi hindi pa siya tao, blob pa lang siya. But let me mention this to you. You ask them a question. If it's living, yes. If it's living, then it's a being. Yes. So therefore, it is a person, no matter the size. That is why when you want to argue with them in this aspect, in this manner, for them to realize that, hey, tao nga naman pala siya. Kasi sometimes it's because some people are not educated in this manner. That is why they tend to believe that it is not a person. I don't know if you have actually witnessed the time when we had that controversial RH bill in the Senate, wherein people would actually talk in front of the microphone and say something about their thoughts and ideas. What saddened me was that a doctor came out in front and said, I am a doctor, and I would say that it is not a person. And I told myself, teka muna, di ba meron kayong code of ethics, kayong mga doctor, so dapat napag-aralan nyo rin yan. So yun yung pinagtatakahan ko. Kaya sana, tapos meron pang magsasabi ng iba, no? I'm a Catholic, but I say that it is not a person. Okay, Catholic siya. So sometimes we have to educate people. And it's through education that we really get to know, okay, about these things. That's why it's important that we have these kinds of talks here so that we can always listen and we learn to defend life. Okay, allow me to continue. So, of course, justice for the preborn. Why justice? People will ask, bakit justice? Preborn pa nga siya. Because you never gave that preborn an opportunity to live. That's why we're asking for that justice. No? Okay, again, people would contest, hindi pa nga buhay. Living na nga . So, ganun lang naman yan . Batuhan lang naman, di ba? But the more important thing is, let us not give up. Let us not give up. Kasi sometimes we just keep quiet and say, okay, sige na nga, payag na ako. Kasi panalo ka na. Oo. But we don't have to really argue and find out kung sinong panalo sa atin. Ang importante lang naman sa atin is that we really learn to defend and pray for these people. Pray for these people. Okay. So justice here is allowing the babies to have an opportunity to be born. And look at this. Look at this. No, this is just most recent actually. Okay, look at this picture. This picture is actually posted on a billboard, okay, in Times Square in New York City. Okay, so it says they're born at 22 weeks. Okay, 22 weeks, mukhang premature siya. Legal to kill until 40 weeks. In other words, you can actually abort the baby up to 40 weeks. Okay, pro-lifers censored yet again. In other words, na-censor na naman tayo. Why? Because it has been less than 2 hours after this live action. It's actually a live action billboard. So in other words, gumagalaw siya. Gumagalaw. Okay? Debuted in Times Square in New York City, but the landlord took them down. Why? Because the landlord claimed they contained inappropriate images. Then EWTN says, what's so inappropriate about showing the humanity of the unborn? And I agree. Anong inappropriate dyan? In fact, this picture reminds me of my grandson, no? My nephew's son, who was born premature. And ganyan na ganyan yung itsura niya. No? Kami nga, awang-awa kami and we want him to live. We did everything. No? So we prayed. We would always ask for updates. COVID pa at that time, nung pinanganak yung apo ko. And we were all really trying to help each other out through prayers. And well, he is now 1 year and 6 months. No? 1 year and 6 months. And kulit-kulit na bata. Kami nga, di ba, pinaglalaban namin yung aming apo. Tapos ito kayo, gusto niyong patayin yung bata. So parang hindi ko maintindihan. That's always been a mystery to me. A mystery to me. Because you are living. Now, kung ayaw mo sa buhay mo, huwag niyo namang idadama yung mga taong walang kamuwang-muwang. Yun yung lagi ko sinasabi. Na kung ayaw niyo sa buhay niyo, ng abortion, buhay kayo eh. Now, that only means one thing. Ayaw niyo ng buhay niyo. Kaya gusto niyo i-abort yung mga ibang tao, yung mga babies. Because ayaw niyo ng buhay niyo. Kaya ako, my answer to that is, huwag niyo idadamay yung mga bata na walang kamuwang-muwang. Yun ang nakakalungkot. Nakakalungkot talaga. But just the same, that's part of reality. It's 2022, and yet we are still talking about this. But then, we continue to fight. Let's not stop fighting. Allow me to continue. Sino ba naman ang ayaw niyan? Come on, teachers, di ba? Okay, having a baby is not a mistake. It's not a problem. It's not a burden. It's not an inconvenience and so forth. It's actually a miracle. Diba? You know, I'm Bisaya and the term that we use here is lami kumuton. No, lami kumuton. Yung pang nanggigigil ka sa ganyang baby, diba? Wouldn't you want to have that baby? So that's the thing. No? So parang di ko maintindihan. But just the same, we have to remember that it's a miracle. Having babies is a miracle. Ang dami nga diyang gusto magkaanak, hindi magkaanak, tapos pinapatay niyo lang yung babies. Okay, so let me now proceed. I hope you're getting my point now, no? And I hope there is a realization on our part. And there is also that question. So bakit natin pinaglalaban? It's because of this. Because babies are a miracle. Kaya tayo nagiging pro-life. Okay, now let me continue. Okay, oh wow, this is the signs of the times, no? Many people don't go to church anymore, but the clinic is always open. Okay, liquor stores always open. Okay, so nakakalungkot. But then, what is the importance of this? Bakit kailangan magpunta sa simbahan ang mga tao? Okay, let me now share with you something that we have gathered. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, let me just again move myself from the screen kasi I see myself on screen and I can't seem to read what's written. Okay. Frequent mass goers are far more likely to be anti-abortion. Yun yung importance nun. Okay, this is based on study. So there's a correlation between mass attendance and agreement with the official teaching of the church on this issue. Okay, while those who attend less often or rarely or never are more likely to be in favor of abortion rights under certain circumstances. And this is based on study. I'm not just saying this. I'm not just putting this for us to think to realize na, teka muna. Okay, gusto ko kayong paniwalain dito. No, studies. So it's important for us to let our students, ourselves, to actually go to Mass and hear Mass. Because the moment they give more importance to the sacraments, it's easier for us to convince them not to actually undergo abortion. No? So it's very important for us to keep this in mind. That is why, even if the abortion clinics are open for 24 hours, of course, in the Philippines, wala naman tayong abortion clinics that are actually open, meaning nakikita openly. So nagtatago sila. And I will tell you a story about that later on also. Okay, so let me now show you this poster of a movie. Ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo kanina. Remember yung tinanong ko kung pwede bang ipamigay yung mga bata, no? Dapat, ganun ba? Of course, it depends on the situation. This movie is actually very beautiful. This was nominated for Best Picture in the Oscars and so many other nominations. I'm not sure now if they actually won an award, but just the same, the fact that they were nominated also shows how the Americans actually found this to be a good movie because this is very Catholic. Because these two characters, no, see, Alan Page is the girl. Michael Cera is the name of the actor, the guy. They're teenagers and their boyfriend, girlfriend. And the girlfriend got pregnant. And they're very young. I think they're both 16, if I'm not mistaken. And then, of course, it became a problem to them. And then they started talking about it. So what do we do about it? Should we go to abortion? Should we have it aborted rather? And then pinag-usapan. And they actually tried to have it aborted, have the baby aborted. But when Juno went to the clinic, merong Korean girl doon na nagsisigaw na, you will go to hell, no? You will go to hell, something like that, if you have the baby aborted. Important thing is that the two of them made a decision. And they said, since we're very young and we're not done with our studies and we cannot really take care of our baby, let's have the baby adopted. Let's have the baby adopted. And I talked to them about it, and the parents agreed. So that's what I meant, no? So marami naman dyan na naghahanap din ng mga anak. So why don't we just have the baby aborted kung hindi talaga kaya? And so that's the decision, and that's how the movie ended. And very interesting. Oy, spoiler alert pala, spoiler alert. I'm sorry if I mentioned the ending, but just the same. No, this is a very good movie, and it's very Catholic. It's very Catholic. So yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, please do watch the movie. Thank you. And maybe, no, this is a statement that I'd like to share with you. So maybe the abortion virus, no, people would care that it kills 125,000 per day, meaning para siyang COVID-19. No? So people cared about COVID-19 kasi it killed, at least during that time when it was on its high, di ba, mga 35,000 per day, mga ganon. So natakot yung mga tao, so nagbigay sila ng... So maybe kung ang abortion is a virus, maybe people would care about it more. Unfortunately, it's not. It's not, unfortunately. So in fact, as I speak right now, I'm sure there are babies aborted at the moment that I am speaking right now as I talk to you in this session. And if you are under 40, you are an abortion survivor and 1/3 of your generation. Okay, you're survivor because at that time, okay, abortion was of course legal, and many have undergone abortion. So if you're under 47, which I don't belong anymore, which I don't belong anymore, so hindi na ako part niyan, no? But to know the reality, the truth. Okay. I'd like now to proceed to the 10 ways. Okay, let me just go over my notes if I missed out on something. Okay. Let me now see. Okay, I think I missed out on some stories which I want to share with you. So before we go into the 10 ways to raise pro-life children, I just would like to share with you, some tips, because it's very important for us to think about that portion where I mentioned about the importance of the sacraments and going to mass. Okay, because it's important for us to expose our students in the sacraments, no? So like, for example, going to confession, going to Holy Communion, receiving Holy Communion, okay, and the other sacraments, no? Of course, they went through baptism, confirmation, and so forth. But it's important to focus on the prayer, Mass, confession, Holy Communion. Now, Mass is a form of prayer, by the way. So once you get to focus on that, it's easier for us to expose them to that and then actually focus more on the sacraments rather than thinking of abortion and other negative stuff or items. No? Like, for example, let me share this with you. In our school, which I hope also in your school, you also get to include and inject activities that have to do with sacraments. Like, for example, in our case, we have our student seminars. No? Student seminars are actually an activity wherein the students go out of the campus and we go to different. And what's interesting is that the seniors go to Banawe, okay, the rice terraces in Banawe, and that's something that they look forward to. But what's interesting is that we inject activities that have to do with prayers. Like, for example, before they go to bed, we pray the 3 Hail Marys for purity. We pray the Rosary also. Then one time, I remember, I think this was a seminar that was held, a conference seminar that was held somewhere in Tagaytay, and or a retreat seminar even. And that was almost 11 p.m. And I remember students knocking at my door. When I opened the door, I thought it was because it was almost 11. And then you know what? The boys told me, sir, maybe to pray the Rosary with us. And of course, I had to say yes, because imagine the students fighting the teachers. I mean, where in the world can you find a school where the boys, students, actually invite their teachers to pray the Rosary? Usually the boys would not want to do that. So I was very happy and I said, yes, of course. No? So we prayed the Rosary. And I told myself, wow, I think the reason why the students are like this, okay, it's because of the exposure that we gave them. Okay, and then again, you might ask me, sir, anong connection sa pro-life? Once they get to be involved in these, in prayer, in Mass, in Holy Rosary, in receiving Holy Communion, it will be easier for them not to think of abortion and to think more of pro-life thoughts. That's why my advice to each and every one of us, our students, to this. But before we get to expose them to this, we have to expose ourselves also. It has to come from us. We cannot give what we do not have. We have heard that statement over and over, I suppose, in several talks already. Okay? And another thing is, I teach personal development in Northfield. And in one of our lessons, we talk about the holistic development of a person. When we speak of the holistic development of a person, we talk about the cognitive development, we talk about the social development, physical development, spiritual development, so forth and so on. And then sabi ko nga sa kanila, yung intellectual development, cognitive development, kaya nyo na yan eh. Kasi yan talaga ang binibigay ng schools. Kaya kayo nagpunta sa school para mag-aral at tinuturuan kayo para matuto. But then, if you look at, come to think of it, that book that I am using in personal development actually states that the most important among the 5 areas of development is the spiritual development. Di ba nakakagulat? And this is not a Catholic book. But yet it talks about the spiritual development to be the most important. Because sabi doon sa book, once you focus on the spiritual development of the person, the rest will follow. Okay, very important. And makes us pro-life. Because again, no exposure to Mass, exposure to Rosary, to the prayers, to the confession, communion, and so forth, will make our students, okay, that's more important to life than actually having abortion. Hopefully, my dear teachers, you also get an idea on this area so that we can expose our students to this. Now, it will be difficult at the beginning, pero sabi ko nga, mas importante yung may ginagawa tayo kaysa wala, because we can only do so much. I'll give you a concrete example. In the PAREF system, we have the so-called mentoring chats. Okay, mentoring chat. So each student is assigned a mentor. We used to call it a tutor. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the PAREF system or you've heard of this before. So in other words, like in my case, for example, I am assigned, let's say this year, only around 8 students, actually the fewest that I have been assigned to, because maliit lang naman ang Northfield compared to when I was teaching at Southridge, when I am usually assigned to like 30, okay, 80 at the most when I became, I forgot the term that we use, pero mentoring was the only task that we do. No? So there was, I think, 5 of us. So I was given 80 at the most. Medyo mahirap siya kung 80, pero kung 20, okay pa naman. But at the time when I was at Southridge, I would usually have a sponsorship mass with my mentees. So it's like a mentor-mentee sponsorship mass. Okay? And I would just tell them, okay, let's set it on a Wednesday, na magkita-kita tayo sa chapel. Okay? Now, of course, not everyone will attend, but it's okay. Ang importante kasi may nagawa tayo. Yun ang lagi kong sinasabi. Kaysa wala tayong gagawin. Kaysa ang attitude natin would be, wala namang pupunta dyan, Mr. Regencia. So, mag-aaksaya pa ba ako ng panahon? Mag-aksaya ka ng panahon. Kasi kahit kung isa lang ang pumunta, sa mentees mo na 8, like in my case, I have 8 this year. Kung isa lang pumunta. Of course, we didn't have face-to-face masses in the school year, but we had online masses, which I would invite them for online masses. Kahit isa lang ang umattend. Sa advisory class ko, 3, 4 na uma-attend pag in-invite ko sila ng sponsorship mass, I'm okay with that. I'll just continue praying for the others. Ang importante kasi may nagawa tayo. Meron tayong ginagawa. So, my dear teachers, let us focus on that idea that we have to do something. It's better, okay, rather than not do anything. I'd rather have a 0 than a 0, meaning not doing anything at all. Kasi wala kang ginawa. O bokya, kasi may ginawa ka. Kasi later on, you will realize that you have to start from the bottom. Siyempre, hindi naman tayo kaagad magsisimula sa taas. Kailangan magsimula tayo somewhere. So kahit isa lang yan na umattend, okay lang yan. Because later on, no? Ito yung maganda nabalitaan nila. Na, sir, may umattend ba? Oh yeah, oo, si Juan de la Cruz umattend. Really, sir? Yes, umattend siya. Okay, sir, attend ako next time. Naiengganyo yung iba. And then in the process, you get to invite, hopefully, everyone else. And once you're able to do that, you're able to fulfill this area on frequent mass goers, because these are the ones who will likely not think of abortion later on when they have their own girlfriend, in case they have the girlfriend pregnant. Okay? Now, of course, hindi siya madali. Minsan nga, awkward. Ako lang umaten, titingin-tingin ako sa paligid, wala yatang ang hirap nito. Although, pag tinanong nila, sir, may umattend? Oo, ako lang mag-isa umattend. Sir, sige, don't worry, I'll attend the next time. Meron yan, meron. God works in mysterious ways, my dear teachers. So, with that, given those stories, let me now proceed to the heart of this afternoon session. Yan. 10 ways to raise pro-life children. Okay, so remember, we're talking about pro-life here. And again, I'd like to go back to our definition of pro-life. It doesn't have to be anti-abortion. It could be loving life, defending life, standing up for life. Okay, so it doesn't matter. But then, of course, we still focus on the babies. Okay, let me begin with the first slide. Number 1, okay. Make sure they spend time with the greatest spokesman for the pro-life cause. And who are the greatest spokesmen for the pro-life cause? These are the nice little babies. Believe it or not, my dear teachers, sila yung spokesperson natin. Because once you get to love the little kids, you would never want to have the babies aborted. Kaya kailangan ma-expose natin sila. Now, of course, if you're teaching high school students, you cannot expose them to real babies, but you can have a presentation, talk to them about babies. I'm not sure can I just digress for a while? I just wanted to share this with you. How many of you have heard of this short film entitled The Silent Scream? Okay, but before that, I'd like to read the comment. Thank you for pointing it out, Sir Ferold. I totally agree with giving focus and bringing back the youth and the general public to prayers, the sacraments, attending Mass, and be comfortable, familiar with the Word of God. Thank you so much, Ma'am Tetet Losica. I'm reading your comment right now. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'd like to share with you how many of you, well, I may not be able to see your hands raised, but just would like to ask that question. No? If you have watched the short film called Silent Scream. Silent Scream. Yung sigaw na tahimik. No? So it's the irony of it all. Sigaw na tahimik. But then, I have seen, yes, I watched it. Thank you so much, Mom Stephanie. I was introduced to that also by Mr. Antoy when I was teaching in Southridge. I taught religion in Southridge, and he introduced that film to me. When I watched that film, I'm not ashamed to tell everyone that I cried. I cried after watching that film because that film allowed us to see an actual abortion using the, thank you, Ma'am Marge and Ma'am Sister Maribel. Thank you so much. It allowed us to show an actual abortion via the, oh my God, I forgot the term. Ano yun, yung when you look at the womb of the stomach of the mother, wherein you get to see the ultrasound. Thank you so much, Mom. Mom Army. Okay. Stephanie says it gives me nightmares. Yes, Mom. Me, I cried after watching the movie because it showed you how the baby reacts. Yung mga nagsasabi na hindi pa nga tao, doon mo makikita na tao na yung baby. Kasi when the apparatus entered, the baby was trying to push the apparatus away. And it was opening its mouth as though it was shouting and parang trying to say stop, like calling out for his mother. Like, Mom, please help. Parang ganun ang lumalabas. So that's why when the last part, I think, was the taken out, so it was crushed. No, the head was crushed. And I cried. Nakakaiyak siya kasi if only the pro-abortion, in fact, the mother who went through that actual abortion, watched the movie, and after that, she realized what she has done and she became an advocate of pro-life. So if that movie is available, maybe you can watch it. The last time I saw it, it's actually available in YouTube. I'm not sure if YouTube has removed it, but I was able to actually watch it at YouTube. But please do. I let my students watch it to let them know how cruel it is to have abortion. Thank you so much, Mom. We also have it watched. The movie was also watched by our high school students, no, by our high school students, and very interesting because it helps us realize that really the fetus is already a baby, a human being, a human person, a human person. That's why I wanted to share that with you. That is why these babies are the best teachers and spokesperson, little babies, because once we get to see them, you would ask yourself the question, who actually wants to have the babies killed? In fact, I'd like to share a story with you again, an article that I have read. Why am I pro-life? No, because killing little boys and girls is wrong. Okay, which is very true. In fact, this is the story that I'd like to share with you. A 7-year-old boy, no, this happened in the US. This is an article I read, and this is based on a true story. A 7-year-old boy has a little sister. I think the sister was barely 1 year old. Okay, and then the 7-year-old boy looks at the little sister, picks up the little sister, and hugged it. And then when he hugged the little sister, he realized how beautiful babies are. And then that's when he realizes, he said, wait, why will people want to kill babies? I mean, we're talking about a 7-year-old boy who already knows about the killing of babies. Maybe he doesn't know the term abortion, but he knows about the killing of the babies. So therefore, abortion is not an abstract concept. Little boys and girls know about it. And that's why when he was exposed to that little sister, that's when he realized to himself, now why would people kill babies? No, when they are so cute. Aside from it being wrong, boys killing boys and girls is wrong, they're actually very cute and you wouldn't want to kill them. That's why it's important for us to know this. That's why the best spokesperson are those little kids, those little babies. Okay? Now, children have a natural love of babies and understand that the life growing inside of a pregnant woman is in fact a baby. And we have to make them realize that. That's why these pictures, the following pictures will actually help us what is meant by that statement. No? So if you're pregnant or if you have a friend who's pregnant, or you give them advice. You give them advice. If you have a parent, okay, whose moms are pregnant, and you can tell the mom, no, you let your son or your daughter, the older ones, make them realize that there is life, okay, inside the tummy of their mother, okay, so that they would now learn to love the baby. They would now learn to love instead of getting jealous, because there is a tendency for them to be jealous actually. So they get to learn to love and learn to love the baby inside. Wala, hindi pa nga lumalabas. Love na nila. No, si little sister or little brother that they will have, or best if they are twins. Okay, in order to raise our children to be pro-life, we start by nurturing that love. So that's how we do it. Again, if we are not mothers, or if we are mothers teaching students, we can always expose them to these little things for them to become pro-life. Okay? And then, of course, number 2, unborn lives matter. Teach them about civic responsibility. Ayan, importante na ito sa mga, I think kahit grade 5, grade 6, medyo naintindihan na nila yan, yung mga advocacy. You know what's very interesting? We talk about unborn lives matter, pero the focus in the US was Black Lives Matter. Okay, we're talking about the 21st century, and yet Black Lives Matter pa rin. Anong nangyari doon sa slavery? Di ba? Nung 18th century, 19th century, medyo nawala na yan pagdating ng 20th century. Pero nagkaroon ng apartheid, nagkaroon ng racial discrimination against the Black. But then, of course, the Black had to assert themselves and become greatest in sports. No? You have Michael Jordan, you have LeBron James. Okay, of course, there's an argument as to whether who is the greatest of all time. Okay, some people say, of course, it's Jordan. Some people say it's LeBron, Kobe Bryant. But for me, the more important thing is they are the greatest in their respective times. In their respective times. But then, if we teach them Black Lives Matter, I haven't seen anyone actually making this a reality. Unborn lives matter. People becoming more conscious about it. Okay, but then we have to do our little part, my dear teachers. Yun natin. Huwag natin hayaan na, oh sige na nga, Black Lives Matter. We tell the students, no, oh, in the US, Black Lives Matter, gentlemen, no? So meron pa nga sila yung, I forgot the slogan that they used, yung nagkaroon ng problema on sexual harassment. I forgot the term, Me Too, the Me Too movement. O yun, so medyo naging matunog all around the world, no? So medyo tumigil yung sexual harassment. This is most common in Hollywood, of course. But then paano yung unborn lives matter? But don't fret, my dear teachers. Kasi kaya natin piling paraan natin, kahit na maliit, kahit sa classroom lang natin. Because those little things that we do, they matter a lot. Because even if we make a difference in one person, that's what I told you kanina, di ba? At least you have done something good. And you have done something, okay, to these students that you have in your respective classrooms. So you can start this in your classroom. Unborn lives matter, gentlemen. What does that mean? Okay, sorry for using gentlemen because I teach in an all-boys school. No, so boys and girls, no? What does that mean to you? Okay, let's come up with an advocacy. The best one who can come up with an advocacy on unborn lives matter gets the highest score. Of course, you have to have a rubric for you to be able to do that. But then again, my point here, my dear teachers, is you are able to come up. Okay, so thank you so much, Mom Lucila, still in YouTube, the silent scream. And I think Mom Tetin, Valdelion posted the link. You can watch the silent scream. You can copy the link later and watch it also later after this session. Thank you so much for sharing. So I'd like to go back. No? So unborn lives matter. Let's not forget that we can do something about it. Kung talagang pro-life tayo, magsisimula sa atin yan, my dear teachers. And I am already giving you the second tip, and that is to teach them about civic responsibility, which to be able to come to share, okay, their own advocacy. Again, kahit sa classroom lang natin yan. Doon lang ang simula. Okay na sa akin yan. Kasi nasimulan natin. But then of course, if you can go beyond the classroom, like for example, ang winner will now be presented, no, to a specific area, okay, to a specific place, maybe sa what's that? Is it DSWD? Okay, maybe you can present it to the moms there, something to that effect. You can do that. Okay, marami tayong paraan. Nga nila, di ba? Kung talagang gusto, maraming paraan. Kung ayaw, maraming dahilan. But if we really are an advocate of pro-life, we can actually work on number 2 also. Okay, now let me now proceed. So, okay, take a look at this. Teach young children about human dignity. It's also very important that the Black Lives Matter and Unborn Lives Matter has to do with the human dignity. That advocacy that you plan to do actually will have to be connected to human dignity. So it's very important for us to start at a very young age. Okay, that your life matters regardless of your color, regardless of your race, no? Regardless of your religion, you matter. Okay, we all matter. I'm not so sure if you're aware. May I just digress again for a very short while? Are you aware do sa term na ginagamit sa US, do sa mga taong feeling entitled? The name that they use in the US is Karen. Okay, Karen. Yes, thank you so much, Ma'am Army. Karen. No, actually, if I'm not mistaken, nagsimula yung term na Karen do sa isang reality TV show. Yung nanay na meron siyang 8 children, and then reason because of a haircut, and then feeling entitled, no, ginawan siya ng meme. And then the meme that was used as Karen. And from then on, yun ang ginagamit nila. Okay, so ito yung mga feeling entitled, feeling mayabang. You see this in YouTube. You could just press Karen and then marami nang lalabas. Meron pa nga yung mga Pinoy involved, meaning tayo yung they look down on us, the Filipinos, no? So Karen, a Filipina, go back, go home, no, go home where you belong, mga stuff like that. Now, why am I saying this? Kasi may dignity tayo. Hindi tayo pwedeng bastusin ng mga Karen. Okay, laban tayo. And that's being pro-life also. So again, I'd like to mention that pro-life is also being defending your own race. Being Filipino, hindi tayo pwedeng tapak-tapakan ng mga Karen. Yung iba nga doon, American citizen na. Pero Asian looking, no? American Asian. Then the Karens actually, talk to them and put them down. And nakakainis because right now there is also the so-called Asian hate. Asian hate. I don't know if you're familiar with the Asian hate. I don't know if you remember, there was this Miss Universe contestant during the preliminary round wherein they have to showcase their national costume. By the way, I don't understand why they call it the national costume when wala naman nagsusuot ng ganun sa respective countries nila. Okay, they should change that, no? But just the same, I forgot the country, but then when they had the cape, no? And then as soon as she turned around, nakita yung nakasulat na nakalagay doon, Stop Asian Hate. Okay? And she used that platform of the Miss Universe to be able to sound off to other people that, there's this Asian hate that exists. And you can also find a lot of that in YouTube. Again, since we're talking about pro-life, we have the dignity. And we have to start teaching our students the dignity. Do not bully. Why? Because the person that you're bullying has dignity. And that's pro-life, my dear teachers. And let me now proceed. Okay, this is also very important. Given the whole pro-life picture from conception to natural death. Okay, very important because again, this was mentioned by one of my students when he defined pro-life a while ago. And after he defined it, I realized that it actually is found also in some of the here. So this is actually this, no? Given the whole pro-life picture from conception to natural death, that we are important. We have dignity. Okay, we cannot just trample on other people because we are human beings. Okay, so it's important for us to have our pro-life work that includes saving women and babies from abortion. Okay, take note of this, but it also means visiting nursing homes, treating people who are different with respect. Ito yung mga bullying. Okay, so because he's different, sir, so I'm bullying him. Hey, you have to respect because this person has dignity. Pro-life, feeding the hungry, helping a new mom with babysitting, and anything else that brings hope and comfort to other people. Very interesting because again, pro-life encompasses everything as long as we speak of. Okay, kaya lahat yan, okay, ito yung importante. Okay, we have to protect all life. Regardless. Hindi tayo pwedeng discriminate. Huh? We have to protect all life. That's why I'm very happy. I remember there was a video, sorry, my Visayan accent came out. There's a video in YouTube wherein a waitress actually defended the Filipino-American family. Huh? So, and we found out that the person who was discriminating this Phil-Am family is actually a CEO in a big company. Imagine that, no? CEO in a big company. And I'm not sure now if he was removed from the company or he was actually terminated or suspended or something to that effect. Now, protect all life regardless, okay? Let me now share a story with you. This is a true story based on the school that I taught in. And one morning, it was a weekday and I was in the office ahead of everyone else among my co-teachers, my colleagues in the personal information office. And then all of a sudden, a student enters the room and he was crying and he was telling me na, sir, I need to talk to my mentor. Okay, usually ganun ang nangyayari. Mentor ang unang hinahanap ng mga mentees, which is good. Which is good. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, but your mentor hasn't arrived yet. What about Mr. So-and-so? I said, wala pa rin. Sir, what about you? Are you available? I said, yeah, of course. Pagka ganun situation, my dear teachers, you have to really put everything down and listen to the student because he's crying. This is a series called 13 Reasons Why, wherein that girl, the last straw that she had was to go to the counselor and wanted to talk to the counselor, but the counselor said, and you know what happened to the girl? Of course, it's a TV series. The girl committed suicide. Okay? And of course, people were, And then the school was saying, no, we cannot blame the school. So ganun naman lagi, no? So you have to take the side. No, I don't know which side you're going to take, but it will always be in that aspect. What happened to this boy who was crying? He said, sir, you know what? I had a shock of my life. Although, sabi ko nga, after teaching years and in Southridge, and this is my 6th year in Northfield, so this is my 33rd year of teaching in the profession. So parang wala nang makakapag-shock sa akin. Although, I was quiet, I listened, show any reaction, I just listened. He said, sir, I committed suicide last night. And I was like, oh, okay. And then continue. I said, what happened? And then he goes, sir, I drank a whole bottle of Tylenol, and unfortunately, or fortunately, nabuhay siya. Okay, sinuka lang niya yung kanyang ininom the last night, the previous night. Then when he realized he was still alive, he decided to go to school without his parents knowing about what he did the night before, and he talked to me about it. And then I just listened, and I didn't want to say anything because baka may mali akong sabihin. Okay? And then finally the mentor arrived, and then I said, okay, you may want to talk to the mentor. And then because it's very important, we called up okay. I'd like to point out, okay, the point of the story. Tumawag kami sa parents. Of course, we have to ask the boy to go to the clinic to check kung may mga infections. But when the parents entered, mind you, I'm telling you, this was more shocking for me. The mom has a very strong personality. The dad, medyo weak ang personality. Nasa likod siya ng mom. And they literally barged in the office. Binuksan yung pinto. I said, pa! And she started shouting, nasaan siya? Nasaan ang anak ko? Ganon, no? Very dramatic, but I'm not exaggerating. And then we told her, okay, you may want to go to the mentor and talk to the mentor because your son talked to the mentor. So pumasok sila sa office ng mentor. But well, unfortunately, the door was open, so we heard everything. I heard everything personally. And you know what she said? She said, masyashock kayo. I don't know kung masyashock kayo, my dear teachers. Ang sabi niya, nagmura pa siya. Ay, PI niya. PI daw ng anak niya. Kung gusto niya magpakamatay, sak na lang sana niya sarili niya. Tanga pala siya. I imagine calling your son tanga kasi nabuhay ka. Okay, I was like, wow. So now I don't wonder anymore why the boy tried to commit suicide. But then, the good news is this. The parents were led to the clinic, and the story of the nurse told us na when the moment the mother saw her son by the bed, the mom cried and hugged her son. And again, the good news, the next time I saw the mother, she was different. Her personality, which used to be a very strong personality, was very serene, very calm, malumanay, very respectful. And I think she learned a lesson. So protect all life. Protect all life. Okay, if you're the mother, tapos ganun ang reaction mo. Okay, but I think the mother was given the second chance. But my point here is this, regardless, no? Kung ito nga, nanay na siya, ganun pa ang reaction niya sa anak niya. Okay, pero tayo mga teachers, we have that responsibility as well to protect life. And we should be pro-life. So kung merong mga estudyante na lumapit sa atin at sinabing, sir, may problema ako, tulungan niyo naman ako. Please don't hesitate to say, yes, let me listen to you. Because that also happened to me in Southridge. Aside from this one happening recently, also happened to me in Southridge. A student crying, nakasalubong ko siya, umiiyak. Sabi ko, are you okay? Which is a stupid question. Umiiyak na nga, are you okay pa? And then I said, no, sir. And then I said, okay, would you want to chat? Di ko siya menti. But then I was going to return the test papers of the students at that time, no? So anong ginawa ko? Sabi ko, samahan mo ko. Babalik ko tong test papers sa mga bata, then mag-chat tayo. Bakit ko sinabing samahan mo ko? Kasi pag sinabi kong ibabalik ko muna itong test paper sa mga bata, baka pagbalik ko, doon sa pinalalagyan niya, wala na. Baka umuwi na. Kaya sabi ko, samahan mo ko. And then, samahan kita, sama mo gusto. Some were private, sir. So ito. And he said, sir, thank God at hinintuan niyo ako. Sabi ko, bakit? Because he was going home to kill himself, to commit suicide. And I was telling myself, What if I told him na, o hindi ko siya pinansin? So see, God works in mysterious ways and let us not lose that opportunity because tayo ang ginagawang instruments ni God. And that is how we're able to become pro-life because we care for everyone, not just for the unborn, but we also care for the students that we have inside our respective classrooms. Not just the classrooms, by the way, but the students that we have in our respective schools. And number 4, be forthright about just I am worth fighting for. Now, this is very important. Kasi paano kung tanungin tayo ng mga bata? Sir, what is an IVF? In vitro fertilization, euthanasia, sir, family planning. My suggestion is do not shrug off the students, nor do not say it's okay, IVF, in vitro fertilization. Okay lang yan. Bakit okay, sir? Bakit hindi okay? Kasi sabi ng church. No. My suggestion is to talk and tell them, anak, hayaan mo muna mag-research ako, ha? Okay, and sasagutin ko yung tanong mo. You can consult a priest, you can go through research, and you can in fact ask another teacher, help me naman, oh. Let's look into this together. Okay, rather than tell your student, well, that's what the church says, so it must be true. So when we are pro-life, let us just not tell our students pro-life kasi the church teaches us to become pro-life. No, we have to learn how to defend on being pro-life. And, okay, let us also take note of this. Use the theology of the body to talk to preteens and teens. Very important. Okay? Instead of talking to them about sex education, maybe we should talk about the theology of the body, that our body is made in the image and likeness of God. Okay? Now, pero Mr. Ransha, I'm not actually privy to these. Then I'd go back to my previous suggestion. Talk to someone who has read it or who knows something about it, and then let that person actually explain it to you. Or better still, let me promote. Okay, let me promote the book of Jason Everett, Theology of the Body, in 1 hour. And maybe based on reading, you can actually teach your students, the teenagers and the preteens, the theology of the body, and the importance of the theology of the body. And they realize that, okay, they realize the sanctity of the body, the sanctity of sex, that you cannot, you should not have sex before marriage. So very important, these things, they get to know these things already. So that's being pro-life also. And in fact, that avoids abortion. Okay, that avoids abortion. Okay, now, number 5. Okay, don't get such negativity. Okay, or don't get sucked into negativity or infighting. Choose life. I don't know if you've heard of certain controversies, no? Recently, no, about the stand of the church on this aspect, no? So, pagka may mga stand on churches and the people start attacking the priests and bishop for not speaking out enough, no? Or when Pope Francis actually had an issue on the Latin Mass, okay, wherein the Pope wants to have the Latin Mass, and people started complaining, you know, regardless of what type of Mass that is. In fact, wherever you go to hear Mass, like for example, when I go to Ilocos, if I hear Mass at Ilocos, or in the Visayas, or in Bicol, in Cebu, okay, even if they use their native tongue, alam mo kung kailan ka tatayo, kung kailan ka uupo. Yung gospel, kahit di mo naintindihan yung sinasabi, because they use their native tongue, actually naintindihan mo. Okay? So let us be one with the Pope. Let us be one with the Pope. You can actually tell your students that. No, let's be one with the Pope instead of these issues. Let's just be one with the Pope. Because there are more important things. Like for example, seeming too much emphasis on caring for the environment. No, when you see the church, okay, rallying outside, talking about the environment, the care for the environment, but yet we have problems on the board. So we have to realize that, you know, there are more important things in life. Instead of just fighting the Pope or going against the Pope, going against the priests and bishops for not speaking out enough. So being pro-life is actually making sure that we work on what is more important and what the more important issues are. Okay? And number 6, we have, even if you keep it positive, don't let it be the only thing your family does. In other words, okay, we have a positive attitude in life. Okay, we do the things that we need to do, pero hindi lang dapat yun ang ginagawa natin. We go the extra mile. For example, if your class has an opportunity to go out on an outreach program, please do so. And then, don't just make it an outreach na bigyan mo ng ayan, yung mga donations natin, tapos na, o yun na yun. I'm reminded of the time that when I was in college, we had an outreach I think I was in high school at that time, in the Golden Acres. I don't know if you're familiar with the Golden Acres. This is like a facility where the senior citizens, the old, actually enter, and they're left there by the families. And I remember we were assigned to one person, and I was with a lola. Okay, the lola was holding onto my hand. Talagang sabik na sabik siya. Sabik na sabik siya. And she calls me anak. No, anak. Sabi niya, alam mo, hindi na ako binibisita ng anak ko. Pwede ba ikaw maging anak ko? Yung mga ganun. Okay? So, it made me realize how important life is. Because these old people, parang wala na nagkikare sa kanila. Okay? How many of us have actually thought of that? Na by old, baka wala na rin magkikare sa atin. So that's why we need to pay it forward. We need to start doing it now. We need to think of outreach programs that we need to work on. We need to think of the little kids, the older people, because regardless of the age, we have to be pro-life and proactive. Okay? I hope you keep that in mind. Pro-life and proactive, that we have to do something. And we don't just sit down, relax, and do nothing. And of course, an example that I like to show you is the movie Encanto. Because they have the family outreach. They cook and they share the food with their neighbors. Something like that. Okay? And number 7, I'd like us to pause for a while. Okay, number 7, make it part of routine prayer. Okay, make it part of routine prayer. You're being pro-life, and teach your students that. But let's pause for a while because Mr. Antoy will show us a short prayer video on this one. Mr. Antoy, are you there? Ayan.
Prayer for the Unborn by Pope Benedict XVI. Lord Jesus, you who faithfully visit and fulfill with your presence the Church and the history of men, you who in the miraculous sacrament of your body and blood render us participants in divine life and allow us a foretaste of the joy of eternal life, we adore and bless you. Prostrated before you, source and lover of life, truly present and alive among us, we beg you. Reawaken in us respect for every unborn life. Make us capable of seeing in the fruit of the maternal womb the miraculous work of the Creator. Open our hearts to generously welcoming every child that comes into life. Bless all families, sanctify the union of spouses, render fruitful their love. Accompany the choices of legislative assemblies with the light of your Spirit, so that peoples and nations may recognize and respect the sacred nature of life, of every human life. Guide the work of scientists and doctors, so that all progress contributes to the integral well-being of the person, and no one endures suppression or injustice. Give creative charity to administrators and economists, so they may realize and promote sufficient conditions so that young families can serenely embrace the birth of new children. Console the married couples who suffer because they are unable to have children, and in your goodness provide for them. Teach us all to care for orphaned or abandoned children, so they may experience the warmth of your charity, the consolation of your divine heart. Together with Mary, your mother, the great believer, in whose womb you took on our human nature, we wait to receive from you, our only true good and Savior, the strength to love and serve life, in anticipation of living forever in you, in communion with the Blessed Trinity. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Antoy, for that prayer. Very important that we make it a routine, okay? Because we in fact, do this activity inside our respective classrooms. And I don't know if you do this, but when we have when we actually face-to-face or online, I allow students to actually read out their intentions for the day. And because you get to realize that these students of yours would realize that they have to offer certain intentions in our daily lives. If you have gone to this place, this is somewhere in Ermita. Okay, this is a place where in memory of the helpless victims of abortion. You can actually pray for them. And then let's proceed. Be on guard against misogyny. Okay, I'm not so sure if you're familiar with the term misogyny. No, so this is like dislike, contempt, and prejudice against women. Okay, this is the time when people actually blame the women for certain actions that they do. That's why they are motivated by the desire to humiliate and punish women. Women who are considering abortion, women who repent of their abortions, or just women who have new ideas about the best way to fight abortion. Okay, so let us avoid that because it is not the fault of the women. Okay, Mary didn't call Eve a slut or a whore, even though Eve was the one who sinned, led to the death of Mary's child. When we're tempted to demonize women, we can follow Mary's example of generous love and pray to see our own sins more clearly. Okay? It's important for us we don't hate the sinner. We may hate the sin, but we don't hate the sinner. And it's important for us to teach our students that so that they realize, again, we become pro-life. Okay? And we're almost done. Number 9, model courage in speaking out about pro-life matters. Okay, very important, very important. And the role model that I have here is actually Mother Teresa. Okay, I'm not sure if you're aware of this event. This happened during the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, D.C. in 1994. Imagine this was in 1994, wherein they invited Mother Teresa and with President Clinton around, and they were so excited to have her without realizing that when she actually spoke, I think there were around 4,000 people in this convention. Okay, Mother Teresa spoke about abortion, and all of them felt silent because she had the courage to speak out. When she said, "But I feel that the greatest destroyer of peace today is abortion," because Jesus said, "If you received a little child, you receive me." So every abortion is the denial of receiving Jesus, the neglect of receiving Jesus. Wow, I applaud her for that. She has the courage, and I hope all of us will have the courage to defend life. And lastly, let's all be joyful and be positive because life is worth living. A fetus was the first to rejoice at the news of Jesus, remember? St. John the Baptist, no joy. Okay, think of that. And then, very important to remember, if you're a loving and merciful God, why didn't you send someone to cure cancer or true leaders to govern us? What's your problem, God? Again, God replied and said, "Oh, I did. But you aborted them." Because who knows, no? Aborted babies might become great leaders we don't know about. Okay? And lastly, okay, I'd like to share this with you. We know who in the end. A very short story that I'd like to share with you. I have a mentee to college. Okay, he had a girlfriend. I even, in fact, met the girlfriend in person. And were taking up medicine to become a doctor. Kaya lang, I had yung girlfriend niya sa kanya. Maganda yung girlfriend niya. In fact, I must admit, she looks like Liza Soberano. Unfortunately, there was this doctor, older, okay, who actually the girlfriend, and had his girlfriend pregnant by this doctor. Unfortunately, the girl found out that the doctor was still married. Sinabihan lang siya, niloko siya, sinabing hiwalay na kami, etc., etc., etc. And then when she got pregnant, "Oh, no, I'm still married, so I cannot marry you. I cannot own the child." So the girl wanted to have the baby pregnant. Aborted. The baby aborted. And what happened? My mentee called me and said, "Sir, my ex na nga niya is pregnant and she wants abortion. And what do you intend to do?" And of course, I wanted to ask him and said, "No, sir, definitely not. But it's not your baby. Doesn't matter, sir. I want to own the baby. Even if, as long as hindi siya magpa-abort." Okay, it was a difficult process. Sick silang dalawa. Ino-off ng girl yung phone, and then you have my mentee crying. No, and I was like, "You're crying." I told myself, "You're crying, but yet the baby is not yours." Wow, what has the school done to you to make like this? No, a man of character, and I'm very happy actually. And in the end, he was able to find his girlfriend and was able to save the abortion. And he now, of course, considers the baby as his. And very nice story, because that's a perfect example of a pro-life person who defends his own girlfriend, even if, in fact, defended the baby, even if the baby is not his. Okay, so that's why very short, because we're about to end. And let me now Sister Lucia's letter to Cardinal Carlo Cafara in 2005. If you remember, okay, she's one of the three visionaries of Our Lady in Fatima, together with Jacinta and Francisco. And this is Sister Lucia dos Santos' letter. Okay, she says that the final battle between the Lord and the will be about marriage and the family. Take note. Okay, don't be afraid, because whoever works for the sanctity of marriage and the family will always be fought against and opposed in every way, because this is the decisive issue. Nevertheless, Our Lady has already his head. So we know who wins in the end. Okay, but we have to continue fighting. We have to continue fighting. Darkness can only be scattered by light, but hatred can only be conquered by love. That is why, being pro-life, we have to continue loving everyone. Okay, and I'd like to end this talk by showing you this. It is not a woman's right. This is Kaylee McKenany, okay, a Fox News reporter. It is not a woman's right to choose. It is a baby's right to live. This is exactly what I was referring to kanina. Sinasabi na it is my body, it is my right. No, it is the baby's right. Baby is a human person. Thank you so much, my dear teachers. Thank you for being here this afternoon. Wow, time flies so fast, no? Ang bilis ng 1.5 hours. Raising a generation of pro-life youth who will stand up for life. A blessed afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Regencia, Ferold Rutch Regencia. Maraming salamat for that presentation. I already placed in the chat box the link to claim the certificates. And if you're still missing some, just send an email to catalystpds@gmail.com. And then I would like to invite all of you to turn on your video so that we can do a little bit of pictorials. Just give us a few minutes to be able to post the recording. Well, that reminds me, I'm going to turn off now the recording. This is not part of the presentation.